German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and his senior cabinet ministers are in India for talks with their counterparts aimed at strengthening ties between Europe's biggest economy and the world's most populous nation. Scholz and Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke at a business conference in Delhi where they announced that Germany will more than triple the number of skilled visas for Indian workers to 90,000 per year. Germany is also hoping to boost weapons sales to Delhi to replace India's dependence on Russian military supplies. A key goal of the trip is to make progress on a free trade deal between India and the European Union. As well as trade, Germany needs Indian workers to boost its economy.
When a German minister arrives in India early in the morning and the first thing he does is visit a school, it's clear this is more than just a courtesy visit. This public high school in Delhi's east isn't just any institution. It's preparing students for a 3-year vocational training program in Germany. The German government and major industry players back the partnership. Germany's labor minister calls it win-win for both countries.
Germany has a lack of skilled labor force. India is a very young society. There are 1 million young Indians per month entering the labor market, and so we try to win them to make some of them to make their way in Germany. And like these young girls here want to make a vocational training in Germany, and so we have to find a way to make it less bureaucratic and to support them.
Germany's aging population means they need skilled young workers from abroad to make up labor shortages. India, for its part, has millions of young people looking for jobs and the challenge of upskilling its workforce. Easing migration to Germany and more direct German investment in India are high on the agenda of this year's bilateral government consultations in Delhi. For years, Germany has prioritized China in its Asian economic and strategic policy. But the war in Ukraine and China's military assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific region have forced Berlin and Delhi to reassess things, says India's leading expert on German affairs.
In an arena where geopolitics is dictating your political choices, your economic investments, does India appear to be on the German strategic lens, and vice versa? Does Germany appear on India's strategic lens? Right? And I think that's where we have to do a little bit more work to make it strategic.
According to this new policy paper from Germany's Foreign Office, things are set to change. It says Germany sees India as a democratic partner for stability and security and wants to tap into India's growing influence in the global south. It also makes clear that Germany wants to be a reliable security partner for India. Recent case in point, Germany's first ever joint air drill in August with the Indian Air Force. India wants to reduce its dependence on Russian arms supplies, and Germany is not only willing to deliver advanced weaponry, but also to help India make weapons at home. This despite its historic friendship with Russia.
I think we have a lot of area in which we will find political convergence, a lot of sound business sense, economic sense, and take forward a new chapter on defense relationships. We can be a force for good.
There seems to be a growing desire on both sides to upgrade the strategic partnership, especially since they share similar concerns about China.
Let's bring in our correspondent Charu. So how much can India help Germany, would you say?
Well, Ben, what we've seen since this morning, that whenever the two leaders spoke, and it was on more than one occasion, Chancellor Scholz and PM Modi, they seem to be appreciating each other's strengths, and they also seem to be delivering a clear understanding of each other's position. clearly, what the German side has been saying is that they need skilled labor, and for which they are willing to offer all kinds of assistance possible. The news about the hike in the number of visas for skilled labor from 20,000 to 90,000 was something that was announced by Prime Minister Modi himself. So that is something that has definitely been welcomed in India. We've already seen that some agreements have been signed on several fronts, ranging from exchange of classified information to education. So the intent is clearly visible.
Mm-hmm. But this isn't just about trade and economies. This is also about a multipolar world. The Chancellor wants more cooperation from India, as he underlined today. Germany is very clear where it stands on defence connections, India less so.
Well, that's right, Ben. And the Chancellor did try to make this point on several occasions. In fact, he kept talking about Russia, and he was very clear and unequivocal in decrying Russia's role in the Ukraine war and saying how it has been a threat to international order. But then those kind of thoughts were not echoed by PM Modi. In fact, Prime Minister Modi kept repeating India's stance that has been very clear so far, and that is of not condemning Russia's role, not even mentioning Russia's role in the Ukraine war, and only saying that this is not the era of war and diplomacy should be resorted to solve differences, and that India is ready to offer all kinds of assistance for peace. So there did appear a very clear divergence on that issue when both the leaders spoke. But then what they tried to do was that they tried to present a picture that they appreciate each other's position, and that might say something about what is in the offing, Ben.
It's also interesting because we were just looking at pictures yesterday of Narendra Modi in Russia attending this BRICS meeting. And when we talk about a multipolar world, this is the competition, basically, which we've been reporting on the past few days. Can both be done by India? Support for the BRICS, support for NATO countries and the Western world?
Well, as far as India is concerned, Ben, it's a sort of a tightrope walk. It's a sort of a balancing act that India is trying to do. India is trying to maintain its own position in global affairs, and not just on Ukraine, in terms of many other issues as well. And because of some of these issues, there is direct friction between India and Germany as well. And Chancellor Scholz appeared to be hinting at it in his address at the Business Forum this morning, when he talked about, when he gave a long message about against protectionism, and he talked about respecting WTO, the order established by the WTO, and the need for member countries not to lash out at the arrangements of WTO. So it's a balancing act. It's a push and pull, which both the countries are doing. We know that the FTA, India-EU FTA, is still elusive. So yeah, I think a lot of work still remains to be done on all those fronts, Ben.
Okay, nice talking to you. Charu Karthikeyan for us in Delhi. Defence is at the centre point, or centre stage, in these talks. Garima Mohan is a leading researcher on relations between Europe and India at the German Marshall Fund. Indian foreign policy has become a bone of contention for Germany. Echoing a call from the Chancellor today, can the two nations actually cooperate?
Thank you very much for having me on the panel. Definitely the two nations can cooperate. Germany has realized the urgent need to revise Merkel-era policy that primarily focused on China and Asia to the detriment of other relationships. This created certain dependencies which Berlin now seeks to de-risk, and is now investing more and more in like-minded partners like India, Japan, and Australia. For India too, Europe has become quite important. In India's worldview, Europe figures prominently when it thinks of critical and emerging technologies, trade and investment, indeed security and defense, as India tries to diversify its own partnerships and reduce dependence on certain countries such as Russia, and definitely migration and mobility that has been mentioned prominently. So these very unique intergovernmental consultations that happened in Delhi today, India does not have this format with very many partners. And so it underlines the importance of the mutual relationship for each other.
An important mutual relationship, but What about their different views on Russia's war against Ukraine? Could that get in the way?
Apparently not, because Berlin just released a Focus on India paper that was adopted by the German government, very rare, has not been done for very many countries, which mentioned that even though they have diverging views on Russia, that does not take away from the fact that India is a key partner for Germany and they both have a similar view of international politics. I do have to draw attention to Indian foreign policy towards Ukraine, which is more nuanced than is often portrayed in Europe. Prime Minister Modi visited Ukraine recently, the first Indian Prime Minister ever to do so, and has been bringing up the point about peace in Ukraine and the need for diplomacy at the BRICS forum, which was hosted by President Putin, as well as G20. So I do feel that that divergence is decreasing, and Germany, as well as other European countries, have learned how to manage it.
What about trying to get Indian skilled workers to Germany, though? How attractive would you say Germany is, besides the fact that an India may be able to earn a lot more money in Germany?
Well, Germany and other European destinations have become particularly attractive for Indian skilled migration after Brexit. People just certainly see more opportunities in Europe, and therefore we have a huge number of young people, youth, very highly skilled migrants, educated migrants looking to go abroad. I think the focus comes more from the German side here. There was a new document released for attracting migrants from India, immigrants from India, highly skilled immigrants from India, which several ministries worked towards and was presented today to the Indian Prime Minister in the IGC, the consultation format. So I think Germany is making a huge push to get Indians over. There are currently about 50,000 Indian students studying in Germany, and the Indian diaspora numbers has almost doubled in the last 4 or 5 years.
Another test for this new partnership will be the free trade agreement between the EU and India, which has been under a negotiation for almost an eternity without any progress being made. Where do you see that going?
I think the FTA, there's a long road ahead, because the EU FTA negotiation process is very bureaucratic and does not respond to urgent geopolitical needs, which is why I was glad to see Chancellor Scholz, but also other European member states, when they meet with India, underline the importance of this FTA and putting pressure on Brussels for a quick conclusion. However, the road ahead seems really tough, and I feel that perhaps India and member states would have to come to certain agreements bilaterally so as to make the ease of doing business in India, increasing it and attracting more European investments. FTA is quite a tough beast.
You heard it from Garima Mohan with the German Marshall Fund in Brussels. Thank you very much for being on DW.
Thank you for having me.